Hi everybody, back with the treasure book series, and here one of the top treasures in the entirety of the library, Mastering the Art of French Cooking by Julia Child, with her co-authors, and you can read their names here. Julia Child, probably the most famous American-born culinary person of the 20th century. It'd be safe to say that. She had immaculate timing in some ways because she came along with her unique set of gifts just at the dawn of the American television industry, in the sense of just past black and white, maybe. Well, actually, the first shows were. She had the personality, she had the joy of life, she had the fascination, she had the ability to comprehend French cuisine, and did so at its source with her husband, Paul. The first time I met Julia, I was with my wife, Janet, and we were on book tour in Boston, where she was living. It was 1988, and we were able to choose the restaurant we wanted to go to each city that the book tour took us on. And we chose a little spot outside the city proper a bit, called Hammersley's Bistro. And as we were being shown to our table, I almost knocked over an elderly gentleman. Janet grabbed me by the crook of my arm and pulled me back and hissed, "Be careful." But I guess I was just so excited because we were just out of Key West, for the first time seeing American restaurants beyond the little island. We'd read about these places, but we hadn't been to them. We were quite young and naive. Anyhow, the little man that I nearly capsized was Julia Child's husband. And I quickly realized that the tall woman being seated next to him was Julia Child. And she was famous, of course, by that point already. Now, I had brung in a copy of my first cookbook, intended to give it to the chef that evening, as was my custom as we moved from city to city and going on this initial book tour. By grace, divine intervention, I don't know, but I was one of the first chefs in America to be able to write and publish a book that was done nationally. Of course, there was Alice Waters, there was Jeremiah Tower, there was Paul Prudhomme, there were others, but we were on the vanguard. Anyway, we sat down and got over the case of being nervous about almost knocking him down. And then I heard the unmistakable voice of Julia saying, "My, you have such wonderful suntans." And she was speaking to Janet and I. And she said, "Where did you get them?" And I said, "Well, we live in Key West and we've come up here for a book tour." She goes, "Oh, really? What kind of a book?" And I said, "Actually, a cookbook." And she goes, "Do you have one with you?" And I said, "Absolutely, we do. I brought one here tonight." And I started to tell her the truth about bringing it to give to the chef, but then I realized I had to give it to her. And I did. She actually stood up, holding the book aloft, like this, over her head, and saying, "Look at this beautiful book by these young people." And that's how my introduction to Julia started. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, this treasure book, this is probably my third copy because the first ones were beat to death. She was here in France with her cohorts, probably at the school, the Cordon Bleu, and that's where the whole thing began. And you have to see the movie if you haven't, written by the great Nora Ephron, called Julia and Julie. And that had to do with this blogger named Julie Powell, who, if you haven't seen it, please do, if you're into food at all, who decided to complicate her life and cook every single recipe out of this huge book. An American, New Yorker, not trained culinary, and the actress was just fantastic. Amy Adams, yeah. It's funny, and then Meryl Streep plays Julia, so you know that's going to be unbelievable. Back to the book for a moment, though. This book, the editor was the one and only Judith Jones, who should be much more well known by everyone that's interested in food and books, because her her experiences and her the people that she worked with were legion and legendary. I mean, just as an aside, outside of the world of cookbooks, she rescued a diary by a person whose book was almost never published, a young lady, a young woman, a girl who perished before the book was published, a young lady, a girl named Anne Frank. Yes, she did rescue and saw to it that publishing did the Diary of Anne Frank. That's part of Judith Jones's legacy. I did meet her also on the stage in Madrid when I was given the Madrid Fusion Award, and I wish I'd gotten to know her better, but that was not my luck. But all of you who want to know about the foundations of understanding classic cuisine as written by a person who we all know in some way or another, in some shape or another, who wasn't a chef, and she never said she was, but she was revered by chefs, including the person who's talking to you right now, Mastering the Art of French Cooking. I hope you'll get your copy. See you later, everybody.